January 19th, 2023, committee meetings, Finance Committee.
Okay, so it's 6 p.m. I will call the Finance Committee to order. Members present, Mark McKeever, Kevin Myers, Terry Spiegel, and myself, Chair. Is there any public participation for the Finance Committee? If we're going to, so just so you know, we're going to do this presentation from RITA, and then we're going to come back again and do some more business at the end of all these meetings. But we have first public participation, and then we're going to go ahead and approve our minutes while we can, and then I'm going to turn it over to the mayor, okay? So I'd like to get approval of minutes from December 30th, 2022. Everybody check those out?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve all three of these collectively as presented.
And I'll second all three.
All right. Got first,
I guess for the record, I could say December 30th, 2022, January 3rd, 2023, and January 5th, 2023.
excellent. And we've got a second from Mark. Yes, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, with that, that's good. All right, so I will turn it over to the mayor. He's got something here.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
No.
Not yet. What did he say?
We're good?
Recess? Did she say?
She thought you were going to take your recess now.
No, we're going to see this.
So, yeah,
We'll watch this movie.
So tonight, we have some representatives from the Regional Income Tax Authority, commonly known as RITA. I know where we have a couple businesses in different cities. RITA is a tax agency for those cities and works very well, and they speak highly of it. I know we have an excellent income tax department, but they're going to make a presentation about some of the things that maybe possibly RITA could enhance some of our tax revenue, and I'm going to let them talk because they're the experts in it. And so I'd like to introduce Don Kuznick. Did I pronounce that correctly, Don?
Yeah, you did.
And Mr. Chuck Hawk. They're both from the Cleveland area. They came down and almost got blown off the road. So, and they're here to answer questions from everybody too. So thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for letting me come today and speak on behalf of RITA. My name is Dawn Kuznick. I've been with the RITA agency for about 7 years now, and in the Member Services Department here at RITA. We are the department that onboards members, and we keep our relationships going even after onboarding. We have a customer service for members, so that's what Member Services is about. As our first slide is, RITA was established in 1971. We are 50 years old. Chuck, go back.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Fat fingers.
Yes, we were established in 1971, so we're 50 years old now. The slide that's up there now is about the Regional Council of Governments. It is the governing body of RITA. So it is currently comprised of over 400 members, and our members are municipalities. So when you join RITA, you get a vote and you get a say in all things that have to do with the Regional Council of Governments. When we partner with Bucyrus, that is a partnership. It's not us taking over and telling you what to do. It is working together to assist your taxpayers as best as we can. So each community retains the right to administer and enforce its own income tax laws concurrently with the board. We have a legal staff in-house that reviews ordinances and the tax laws, especially the ones that are down in Ohio. And so we would make recommendations if any ordinances need to be adjusted accordingly. Currently, we have RITA offices in Brecksville, Worthington, Youngstown, Cleveland Heights, Mentor, and Xenia. And there was talk before COVID of getting one in the Northwest region. So RITA is a full-service tax collection agency from A to Z. What we mean by A to Z is we start with registration all the way to litigation. So we have taxpayer registration, and those are the different areas of how we get registration. I'm not going to touch on all the points that are there because I'm sure you all can see it, but the ones that I want to point out are the ones that are in red. So taxpayer registration, when a business withholding account sends over their reconciliations along with their W-2s, we can match the W-2s with taxpayers that we have on file to make sure that they're filing what they're supposed to be filing, or filing the amounts that they should be, or maybe not at all, because maybe they don't need to file. But those are matched up against the individual accounts. On the other side, too, for tax preparers, we have what's called our modernized e-file. So tax preparers can submit returns electronically through different software companies that we partner with. So they don't have to send in a separate RITA return. They can just upload it. When they do the IRS, the state, they also can send the RITA return as well. On the same token, net profit tax preparers can also send electronic returns to us as well. We also have a couple of programs that are included in the agency cost, which would be a non-filer and administrative subpoena program. What that does is we send out letters to non-filers letting them know that they have to file, what tax years they have to file. They can file online. They can send us in simply W-2s, copies of their IRS, the 1040, and we would file it from there, send them out a notice of how much they would owe, and they would have one billing statement to provide the payment, and then penalty and interest would accrue. We also partner with the Federal Tax Information, which is our FTI. That's IRS. So the IRS will send us data downloads, and we can partner, we can look at taxpayer accounts to see if they filed, and send them a bill based on what the IRS has stated that they had income for. This is a couple of our other places where we have data entry and imaging. We have support services, including finance or member services, that's us, and other items that you would get with the agency cost. This is about our hardware and software systems. You can go to the next screen. And our facilities, what we have at our facilities. You can go next. Another option that we have is administrative subpoena. So if a taxpayer gets a non-filing notice, which is already built into the cost of services, if they don't file based on the non-filing notice, we can issue an administrative subpoena, which is $1 each. And I have never seen this program not pay off. So with the money you put out there for each administrative subpoena, you will get back money as well. If you decide to use our RITA legal services, you would share a court with Gallion and New Washington, because those are RITA partners that are in your area that they do have the RITA legal. So it's nice because if they go out to court for Gallion, New Washington, and Bucyrus, then the three would share the court costs. And it's split 3 ways instead of one community just eating up the whole cost. The software partners, as far as the tax preparers, these are some of the professional software that we partner with. So if there's any local tax preparers that use the software, then when they file with the IRS and the state, they would also submit a RITA return under these forms. A taxpayer can also e-file or fast file on our website. E-file is where they create a username and password, and they log in, and they'll be able to submit their return, make payments, check on payments that they've already made. If they want to fast file, and that's exactly what it is, they don't sign in with the username and password. They just enter their information in and go on their merry way. There's also fill-in PDFs, and we also have paper forms. So if somebody wants a paper form, they can call into RITA and we'll send them out a paper form. Or the simplest thing that they can do is just send in a copy of their W-2 and the 1040, and we'll file it that way too. RITAOhio.com is our webpage. This is our landing page, so when you go to RITAOhio.com, you're going to see this page. And on the left-hand side is all the different features that people can look at, if it's an individual or a business. So when they click on RITA municipalities, next, they will come to all the RITA municipalities that we have. And from there, they can click on one of the members. So in this case, if we clicked on Brecksville, Chuck, next, they would get this landing page. And this is for all of our RITA municipalities. It'll tell the current rate, the current tax rate, the current credits, if there's any special notes. For instance, if they have an age exemption where Brecksville is under 18 are exempt, but if somebody under 16 was exempt, we would have it on there. It would tell them that lottery and gambling winnings is taxable. If they wanted to be directed to the Brecksville page, you could click on the top in the Brecksville address, and it would take them to the Brecksville address. If there's any tax rate changes, we'll have them up there, and they'll also be displayed if there was any rate changes as well. We also, oops, sorry, can you go back? If somebody needs to see the rules and regulations or the tax ordinance for Brecksville, they can click on those documents as well. Okay. 2022 and 2021 was a big year for us because of COVID. A lot of municipalities shut down and couldn't work during COVID, but RITA stayed open 100%. We actually right now and continue to be a hybrid schedule, so we work at home. If anyone was paying attention when I first was pulling up the computer, I had lots of security measures to go into my computer, and that's how we all are. That's why we can work from home. So in 2022, we had all those members join RITA, and then in 2023, we have those members, and we have a couple other ones that are on the books for this year as well. Napoleon is a new one that we just added in 2022. Go ahead. Here's your neighboring RITA communities. Crestline, New Washington, Gallion. They all partner with RITA. Okay. Go ahead. So Chuck and I are part of Member Services. Member Services is the membership's customer service. So if members like Gallion or Bell Fountain have questions, they call us in Member Services and we can answer their questions. We generate reports for all our member municipalities if they have taxpayer questions. So if a taxpayer stops in to their finance office with questions, then they can call us. They also, our members, also have the option to, if they want, they can accept taxpayers walking in with their returns, and they can file their returns on our system as well. Or they can send it in to us through fax or email, and we will also file it too. But we represent you, and we are your customer service, so that way you're not calling into the taxpayer customer service and are talking with them. You actually have a direct point of contact. We also have a taxpayer customer service with, like, there's 6 different locations throughout the state, so there's customer service agents there. Can you go to the next slide? So our customer service is, we actually have agents. There's over 200 agents throughout all of our locations. And our agents aren't just thrown on the phones. They actually have to go through what we call a RITA boot camp. And it's a 4 to 6 week course in which they learn how to calculate tax, local tax, how to look at W-2s, how to look at 1040s. They also sit side by side when they're put on the phone with somebody. They actually listen to an agent who is seasoned, and they listen to how they are on the phone. And then when they are released to go on the phones, then that agent will listen to them and give them notes and how to do. But it's a big boot camp that pretty much anybody that's within RITA went through, including myself. All calls are recorded for quality and security, so if there is an issue on a taxpayer's account where a taxpayer called RITA, we can pull the call and we can talk to them or listen to the call to see what was actually said. So if one of our agents does wrong, then that's how we train them to do better. Next. We offer, not only are we coming up to tax season here in April, but we are busy year-round at RITA, because once tax season is over, that's when we gear up for the non-filing letter. It is included in the cost, but it is an optional service, so you don't have to do the non-filing program every single year. If you do the non-filing program, we would suggest doing the administrative subpoena, but again, you don't have to do it. And some municipalities do a non-filer program 1 year, and then the next year they may do the non-filer program with the administrative subpoena. You also have accelerated collections, so we have a collections department at our location that will set up payment plans on taxpayers' balances, and it has to be a final balance. It cannot be set up on estimated balances. You can also partner in the legal program. That is an optional service, and we have contractor registration and project tracking through our business department. And again, the federal tax information is something that is done year-round, where we get the data from the IRS for those taxpayers that haven't filed. So based on the cost estimate sheet that we received, we estimated that the cost of collections would be $128,671 to $142,215, which is a 1.86% to 2.6%. I don't know how much that would save you, because that wasn't included on the cost estimate sheet. We do have a retainer. Our cost for using RITA is a 3% cost, and what that is, when you get your distributions, we take 3%. So if you are under the 3% at the end of the year, you will get a refund back of the money, and then if you are over the 3%, then we would just bill you accordingly. Next. So why should you switch to RITA? Well, you would get increased service levels, which including taxpayers, both business and individuals, can do electronic filing and payments. Tax preparers can upload those tax forms to our system. You also have My Account, which is for the taxpayers, which they can set estimated payments, make payments, check on their refund statuses, and even send us a message through their account. They also can call our 24-hour, 7 days a week IVR, which will give them information about payments that they need to make or have made. They can also speak to an agent. Those municipalities that have joined RITA, they do typically experience an increase in collections as a result of our compliance programs, which is the non-filer program, the subpoena program, or the legal program. You do get access to the IRS data. So that was a lot of stuff I just threw out. If council decides to go forward, you would have to pass joining legislation. You'd have to notify your current software, which I understand is eGov or SSI, that you're switching to RITA. You also have to reach out to them because there might be a cost with them for us to get data extracts. However, I also am told that SSI is not doing any process improvements to their software. If council passes joining legislation, we would extend a contract to Bucyrus, and then you would be approved by the Regional Council of Governments, and then we would begin the conversion process. So. That slide is, any questions? Yes.
When a municipality joins your organization, what typically happens to those employees from those municipalities that were doing those jobs prior to you taking that over?
It all depends on the municipality. So, the mayor said he's very familiar with Bell Fountain, and we are too, because Juliet Bell Fountain still has taxpayers come into her office and walk in. And she accepts payments from them, she accepts returns from them, which she files on our website. Now, we also have Janet from Fremont, who is on the opposite spectrum, where she doesn't want anything, like she wants hands off. So she will not file a return. She will collect some data and send it over to us, but she wants hands off. And then we have municipalities who are in between. So it all depends on the municipality, what they want to do. We work with whichever the municipality
Sure.
decides to do. It's
So
a
in that sense,
partnership.
I think we have 2 in there. We wouldn't need 2 people in there then.
It depends
Okay.
what the city wants to do.
Okay.
The reason I say that is if you decide to still have taxpayers come in and file returns with Bucyrus, then yes, you will still need people in there. And then they can either send us the returns, or they can be trained on how to enter it into our system. But I just had another municipality, Spencerville, who wants nothing to do with that. They actually took their PO box and they have it forwarded to our RITA address. But that's their choice. They don't want to have anybody in their tax department.
Okay.
So it depends on what Bucyrus wants to do. We work with everyone. That's why we have a member services department that is specifically for municipalities, because if they have taxpayers that are coming in with questions, we are available to help them.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay, on the first year you collect stuff, do you have a high number, then it goes down every year after that? Or does it usually stay about the same as collecting it from year to year?
The first year it'll start to increase. We say, give us 3 years to get the collections that you
But
need.
then does it go downhill then from what you're collecting?
No.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You said you require an advance. Does that just get paid the first of the year or the prior year?
So it's not in advance. We do a retainer. So you get
I
two.
couldn't think of that word.
Yes, that's okay. You get 2 deposits a month, and the 3% comes out of those two deposits. Okay, and you'll see that on report. Well, you yourself, Mayor, will not see that, but whoever is in the finance department would see that on the reports. And then at the end of the year, which our auditors are actually now looking at our books right now, and they will let us know how much the total agency cost of collections was. And then there's a formula where we divide it out by all the municipalities to see of the 3% that they paid with every distribution, how much did they overpay that 3%? And then if they overpaid it, we give them a refund, and that refund usually comes in June, although the last couple of years it's been May, but we have new auditors this year, so we're not sure. It might be June. So that's already taken out of your distribution. And your distribution dates are the 1st of the month and usually around the 15th of the month.
Yes, question over here.
So RITA would be working with filings moving forward. What happens to all the filings from past years?
So we will collect on those too. So if Bucyrus decides to do a non-filing program, then we will go back in what's in statute and send them a letter of what they haven't filed, and they will return in all their returns to us. So when we do the extracts, we do 3 years. However, if they owe for 4 or 5 years worth of tax returns, they're submitting it to us.
Yes, go ahead.
You showed a group that have recently joined the last couple of years. Would you, and you work with most of those, am I right there? Do you say they joined because of convenience, or is it because of enhanced tax revenue?
There's a lot of different things. When we had a lot of join in 2021, and that was because of COVID. And that was because of them shutting down, and therefore they were not getting revenue into the city. So we didn't shut down, and all of our municipalities still got their revenue on track. Another reason why people are retiring and they just can't find the help they need. Other reasons is because, yes, there is the enhanced collections that we could do through non-filing programs, the IRS data.
Just curious. What you're finding out there.
Anyone else?
Is there any questions in the audience or any comments? Yes.
In your experience, you've got 50 years, when you start your collections and so on, the city's cost of expenses to you versus what you're collecting for them, what's the percent ratio?
The city.
Roughly. In other words, you're
Oh.
charging the fee.
So it's 3%, right, and the majority of our municipalities are usually less than 3%. I believe last year, the cost of collections came in around 2%.
So out of every dollar you collect, the city will recognize, I'm gonna be fair, round number, 97%
Could be.
of every dollar will come into the city coffers.
Yes, correct. And the more municipalities there are, the more the expenses are spread out, so then more money comes back into those municipalities.
But in general, across the board right now, it's 97.3. You're 3%, city sees 97% out of every dollar.
Correct. Correct. Also too, if you decide to retain your tax department, we will come out and provide training for them, our system. They also can go in and look at the taxpayers' accounts that call in, whether it's business or individuals, and they will see notes on the account in real time. So if a taxpayer calls in on their account, our agents are trained because they need to make notes on those accounts. So your tax department will be able to see those notes in real time. They also will be able to, in your point, as far as sending in documentation, whether it's the current year, which would be 2022, that would be filing, or any prior ones, you will be able to see those documents linked to that taxpayer's account. Yes.
You mentioned about a contract. What's the length of the contract if the city wants to do business with you?
Any amount of time, we just ask that you give us 3 years to get your cost of collections up. After that, if you decide not to partner with RITA anymore, we just ask that you send us a writing 6 months in advance of the termination date. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just a follow-up question. My history's kicking in now. This is a collection of back taxes versus what I saw you present is primarily a civil action, going after money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You hit John Doe and he owes $3,000 or whatever. He's got the letters, you guys have done your background. Where does RITA stop, or where does it switch over to a court action, or what happens to the person who just says, so much for Bucyrus, I ain't paying?
Well, that's why we have the IRS documents then too, because then we actually are able to generate a bill and to compel them to get that documentation in there to file. From there, if they don't pay, once it's filed, then we take them to court if, Bucyrus decides to join our legal program, and we would take them to court. If they don't pay off of that court order, then they go to collections. What is it, an in-house, out-of-house collections agency, and then they could garnish wages.
So, and I noticed part of this is à la carte, okay, the optional parts. So, if the city has taken that option and so on, you take this clear through, let's say they take the whole package, you take the case clear through till it goes to court, and you get a court order.
Mhm.
Okay. And does the city have any involvement in this, or because of your contract, you are representing the city in overall, legal-wise, attorney-wise, and so on, or where, is there a breaking point?
So, at any point, the city has a say. So, let me just go basic for a moment, okay? If a taxpayer filed their return late, 2022 return late, okay? And they received a late filing fee. Late filing fees for the state of Ohio is $25 per month, up to $150. So they could get a $150 late filing fee and not even owe any tax, okay? If we look at their account, RITA, and Bucyrus does not have to give us authority to remove penalties. Bucyrus can say, no, if somebody wants an abatement, we want to know, they need to send us a letter and we will decide. Or Bucyrus can say, no, Rita, we want you to make the decision on abatement or not. So our agents will look at the account, they'll look at the history and all that. Say the taxpayer is clean, then most likely we're going to say, okay, you qualify, we will remove your late filing penalty. But if it's somebody who has a history of always filing late or never paying on time and has all these penalty and interest, number one, we're going to work with them. If we can remove penalty and interest, we will. If we tell them no because we've done it in the past, because we usually only do a one-time abatement request to remove it. But if they're always doing this, Bucyrus can come and override us and say, nope, I've talked to this taxpayer is really trying to get their stuff together. We feel, as a municipality, we want you to clean the slate of their penalties. Then we'll do that. We partner with them. We're not taking over. We're partnering, and we talk. So as far as your legal question, to a point, Bucyrus can still come in and say, I want penalties and interest removed, even if there's a court order. There are some things we can't remove, like if there were legal fees because of the court order. But Bucyrus always has the option to say to us, I want what is right for the taxpayer. We can't remove tax liability. That's not an option. But we can do stuff with penalties and interest.
So if they were to take every option you have available, your total package, it brings me to, I guess, two sides here I want to just ask about. One is, Bucyrus virtually would be hands-off unless they wanted to talk to you or so on. You would be taking it from the day that you send them a notice, you send your tax form, clear up to the end of taking them to court if necessary with your legal counsel. The other side of that crosses my mind. If they take all the options, my earlier question was the percentage, dollar percent split. If they take all your options, which includes take them to court and the attorney fees and so on, we're getting into other expenses, obviously, for you. Is my earlier question still the same? Your collection rate's still around 97.3, or are we talking more like 90-10 now, or?
So what happens, I can't fully answer that question because it depends on the county, okay? And it also depends on how much we have a legal department that will figure out estimates of how much it's going to cost for legal. We give that up to Bucyrus in the beginning before they sign anything for us to go through. So we would tell them ahead of time what the cost of court fees are. Now, in the state of Ohio, those court fees can be passed back down to the taxpayer. So technically, yes, they would still get the 97% because any court fees that Bucyrus puts up in the beginning, they're gonna get back later from the taxpayer making those payments.
And your attorney and your personnel would be included in those fees. I just, I was looking at two sides while you had up, and
Oh,
like
I
I said,
am.
I noticed Alucard, okay, we can do this procedure at a 97-3 split maybe, but we're only doing this part, but if we take all the other stuff, it was quite obvious that your costs are going to be increasing because you're furnishing legal fee or legal personnel and other operations, and I just wondered how that all offset.
Right. But what will happen is Bucyrus would, I think it was what Galleon and New Washington is the same courthouse. So those three communities would share the cost of the legal fee. But then at the end of the day, whoever they take to court, those legal fees will go on to the taxpayer.
One last question, and I bring it to the end. With your experience of the cities, and I noticed you named some bigger areas, Cleveland, Breckville, stuff, that's bigger cities.
That's because where I'm from.
So I'm looking at the Bell Fountain, the Crestline Counties, and so on. Let's say in the area that Bucyrus is in, size-wise and operation, what would you feel, and I'm not going to hold you to a percentage or anything, well, what would you feel of those communities that take advantage of your whole package, the whole option, say, we want you to do everything? What is that, what, the way the people usually go, or just, is it a mix? Or?
It's a mix because I can't, it's a lot harder to think about legal because once it gets to legal, then it's usually, I'm more hands off of it because it is with legal. But I know like Julie from Bell Fountain.
No, maybe I misworded.
Okay, I'm sorry.
When the cities contract with you, what options do they take? Do they usually take the whole package with RITA, or just the
Well, they
included stuff?
the included stuff because they want to see what everything is about. Okay, then they might say, okay, let's do a non-filer program. We have to wait 1 year from the time they join to do the non-filer program, which is also included. Some, even the big cities, don't always do a non-filer program. I don't know why, but even the big cities don't do it. That's why we always suggest doing it every year or every other year, because that is included in the cost. It's not costing you anything. As far as administrative subpoena, which is the dollar subpoena, it just depends. Some do and some don't. I honestly don't know what the rhyme or reason is, and maybe that's just something that I need to reach out to them more and say, hey, why aren't you doing it? Because this is included in your...
A fair answer. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we kind of got a lot of questions. Rita has a phone number here if anybody, wants to get more particulars on it.
Yes, everybody that received the folder in that
Yeah,
card
we
is
got a
inside.
folder. I guess if anyone has any more questions, I guess we can call them because we're kind of getting off the, I don't want to be here. We've got like six more committees and we have to go again. Anyhow, my opinion, and then I'll ask the rest of the committee, my opinion right now, and even before, I'm glad you came and presented because there was a lot of questions about, what do they do? And now we have some information if we can call you, us on the committee, if we have a question. But I feel, my personal opinion, and then you guys tell me what you think. We've got a new auditor coming in, hopefully. And, in a year we'll have a new administration. And I know, I may want to let them kind of make that decision, but, or be involved in that, because they're the ones that are going to have to handle that. That's my opinion, okay? Now, if you guys have any opinions or whatever, and other than that, I would like to table that, but I don't know if you guys have opinions on that or not.
I agree with your opinion.
Well, that doesn't happen very often. I'm writing that down. No, I'm just saying. Write that down for me.
It's not a question for you.
anything, I don't want to cut anybody on the committee off, I want to cut those guys off because we got to get this thing moving here, but the committee, if you've got questions, give them a call and we can bring this back anytime in committee. It's in our committee and we'll follow up with you, and, okay?
Thank you all for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, with that, I'm going to call a recess for the Finance Committee. But don't worry, we'll be back at 6:40 PM.
Health and Safety Committee, January 19th, 2023.
All right, we'll call the Health and Safety Committee meeting to order at 6:42 PM. Members present are Dan Wireball, Steve Young, Mark McKeever, myself, Chair. First, is there any public participation for Health and Safety? Seeing nobody jumping up out of their chairs. You have before you the minutes from the January 5th, 2022. That should be January 5th, 2023. Regular Health and Safety Committee meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I have a first by Mr. Wireball and a second by Mr. McKeever. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. All right, next before you, you have the proposed or recommended changes to our tree ordinance. Have you guys had a chance to look through this? Do you have any questions from the committee members at this point? I received two questions that I'll just bring out and discuss here right now. One asked why the fine, which you'll find on the very last page on the back, under 915.99, the penalty of $250. I was asked why is that increased from what it was in the previous ordinance? Well, the answer to that was the previous fine was from 1964, I believe. Correct. So if you would follow current inflation, the $250 that's suggested should actually be $944. So that's the answer to that question. It's an increase to keep up with the times, and I guess I understand that we rarely, if ever, fine anybody for that anyway. So it's in essence a moot point. But the other,
It's one of those things, Mr. Chairman, it's there as a tool, to incentivize people to not violate the ordinance.
Sure.
But, yeah, the goal is not to impose penalties. The goal is, to have a good tree program.
I'm content with the answer I was
Okay.
given. The other question that came up, and I know, Mayor, I'm going to ask you to kind of talk a little bit on this because we've talked over the last several years about tree lawn, whose responsibility that is, and I know, we've kind of went both directions with it. Where do you see that, and where does that stand right now?
ORC, do you know what ORC says about tree lawns? It's the city's responsibility.
Well, yeah, but the way other communities, if I can
Yeah, go
speak
ahead.
to it, the way that other communities handle it is they all put the onus on the adjoining property owner. But when I was the village administrator in Crestline, the village of Crestline says, hey, the village is going to take care of all the trees in the tree lawn. Well, my goodness, that was an exorbitant amount of money, and there's a ton of trees that need to be maintained. So over there, what I did is, hey, I had enough money I could take care of maybe 3 to 5 trees a year. And once that money's gone, it's gone. So I would say for us, one of our recommendations was to put forth a storm damage mitigation plan for the trees. So you're going around, you're going to take down the extremely dangerous trees first, and you're going to look at limbs that need to come down, and then you'll get into a regular pruning program that you can afford, that's affordable.
Just so that the members of the public that are watching understand what we're talking about, if before this is passed, so what's in place currently, whose problem is a tree in the tree lawn today?
It's the adjoining property owner.
Okay,
The
so
onus is still
this
put-
isn't changing what
No.
we have already had in place?
Correct. But to help alleviate some of that, the tree board has recommended to council and the administration that they put together a storm damage mitigation plan.
So currently, the trees that are in our tree lawns are our responsibilities, but is the city, through use of the funding through the tree board, taking care of any of those trees currently?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the fears of somebody that called and spoke to me about this was, if I have a tree in my tree lawn that's in sad shape, are you going to be coming after me and forcing me to do something with it, after this is passed versus how it is now, so.
There's no change in that, the administration of that at all.
Okay.
The only thing that, again, like I said, what we're trying to do is we're trying to help the community by getting that storm damage mitigation plan established.
So I know a lot of the changes in this is really just cleaning up some language.
Yeah.
Can you just give me a brief 1, 2, 3, 4-minute synopsis of what the overall change really is?
The overall change is, ultimately, it gives much better guidance for care and maintenance of the trees in the whole community. It's something that the community can look to for guidance on how to manage your trees, how to manage the urban forests that we do have, how to plant and water your trees properly. And we have a comprehensive list of trees that should be planted and a few trees that should not be planted because they are detrimental to the infrastructure and to property. They're brittle, they drop limbs, so we don't want to have those planted. So it's just a much more comprehensive ordinance than what we have today.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Osnash. Mr. Young, you have any questions or comments?
No, it's actually pretty common what we're doing. In my former job, I dealt with this in many cities, and this is very common. So,
Mr. McKeever?
No, I think it's well planned out here, and by giving the list of trees for people to see what kind they like that would be permitted, it's a good guidance for them, so they can be well informed and they won't have to remove a tree if they put the wrong one in.
Mr. Wireball?
I'm good.
All right. Have you gentlemen had enough time to read this and think about it to act on it this evening? If so, I would entertain a
I'll
motion
make a
to
motion to
request legislation
legislation.
authorizing replacing Section 909 of our current codified ordinances with the updated tree program.
Right, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Wireball and a second by Mr. Young. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Taxi cabs, Mr. Gerner. I assume you found it in one of your piles on your desk.
It's there.
Oh, so we put it on the list, but we're not quite ready to discuss
No,
it.
I
Is that where
have
we're
to
at?
speak with, I think, Officer Bursby or Captain Bursby, Lieutenant Bursby, whichever one he is. I don't know off the top of my head. Lieutenant Bursby. Him and I need to get together, and I will do that in the next 2 weeks and
Okay.
have something for
So
you.
would you like us to ask the clerk to put that on our agenda for the following meeting?
Yes,
All right.
and I apologize to Lieutenant Bursby.
You just promoted him to captain.
Yes.
Chief Bursby.
Yeah. Any open projects that any of the three of you wish to bring up? Seeing heads all shaking, no. If that's the case, is there any further public participation for health and safety this evening? Still seeing nobody wanting to get out of their chairs. We're going to adjourn at 6:50 p.m.
Public Lands and Buildings Committee.
I'm going to call the Public Lands and Buildings to order at 6:51 p.m. Members present are Kevin Myers, Dan Wireball, Brenton Potter, and myself, Sierra and Sherrick Chair. Do we have any public participation? All right, I'll take that as a no. Next on the agenda is the minutes from January 5th.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a first by Mr. Myers and a second by Mr. Potter. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. Do we have any open projects we'd like to speak on this evening?
I have a quick question since Service Director's here. In your report, it was the three parcels that didn't sell in the last auction are going up. Are those different from the ones that you were going to be splitting off where the old water tower was? What's the status of those lots?
We haven't done anything with those lots yet, but
Okay.
there were actually 4 that didn't sell
Okay.
and 1 on High Street. We have a sewer that runs through that lot, so we pulled that one.
Okay.
Until we determine
we can be able to work on it through the service department.
Okay,
So those are the 3 that are gonna go out now.
all right.
We'll still have to work on
So
the,
where are those 3 that didn't happen?
I didn't bring the list
One
in.
was over on Wallace,
Wiley,
Wiley, and,
East End Way?
no,
Norton Way?
yeah, Norton.
Norton Way.
Yeah.
yeah.
So those are the 3 we're gonna try to get taken care
Okay,
of.
so where does the ones at the wire tower, that was in for one of the committees that needed to go through that, that hasn't happened to split them yet?
We still need to
Yeah.
do the lot split on
Okay.
those.
And
Take care of
there's
it.
no chance to get that done in time for this auction, is there? We'd have to do another one.
We'll work on that.
Okay.
We'll try to get it.
curious.
Yeah, I mean-
Mr. Dunn has something to say over here.
We need to check on that one on Norton Way. If that's where the sewer goes through, we shouldn't be selling that one either. If it's the same one I'm thinking of. It is. Okay, we shouldn't sell that.
So that's 2 of them. Okay.
We'll go ahead and wait till we get that split done. If we're gonna advertise, I don't wanna do
Right.
it for
That's
just 2
kind of what I was
properties,
thinking,
so
yeah.
We'll
You
wait
don't-
till we get that done and then we'll do all 4.
That's fine. You don't need anything from us, though, do you, to not sell the ones with the sewers?
No, I just
I
didn't
think
know
we
if we
just-
needed to do new legislation or the old one would work since they didn't
Be a him
sell the
question, but
first
we
one.
gave you the authorization to put them out to
Yeah.
bid. We didn't
All of
say,
them, yeah.
we didn't give you authorization to only put them out to bid once.
Well, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
before I moved it forward and all of a sudden I got in trouble, so.
No, you're gonna get in trouble no matter what.
Thanks for your assurance, Mr. Wireball.
Within the past year, the city of Bucyrus inherited the old trailer park by the river, and the service department today knocked down the buildings up top. So I don't know, but that would be something that you guys would want to consider what to do with that property. Mr. Dunn.
Yes, that property there, we have a sewer system that goes through there.
Of course we do.
That's one of the reasons I wanted that property, so we have a way to get into it.
Gotcha. Of course we do.
Make a great dog park, wouldn't it? There's this guy used to be up here, he always wanted a dog park.
I still do.
Oh.
It's not a bad idea.
I do have one open, I guess it's open project, that we hadn't clarified yet, and I think the mayor may want this clarified about the office space. Have we found anything off, or last time we talked about the office space, did we get that straightened out?
You're okay to have.
Oh, did we? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you guys okayed that.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
He's very grateful to have the space, and they'll be occupying it. I don't know the
I
schedule yet.
believe you made the motion.
I might have, yeah. But I'm getting to that age where, you know. Well, I mean, if we can have them here, it's, I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of the last guy that's
I just like,
occupied that office,
I
but
just like the ability for
But-
any of them to be able to use the space.
I went in there a few times and talked to that lady, so. All right, moving on, I'm done.
All right, do we have anything else? Any more public participation? Okay, then we will adjourn at 6:56 PM.
Platting Committee, January 19th, 2023.
Okay, I will call plating to order at 6:57 PM. Members present, Kevin Myers, Dan Wireball, Terry Spiegel, and myself, Chair. Okay, you have before you the minutes. Public, I'm sorry, is there any public participation for plating? None being?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for our January 5th, 2023.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a first from Kevin, second from Terry. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passed unanimous. All right. Well, I believe Mr. Rostash will have you come up for the 1301.08 building setback requirements.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. when I was in the code, I noticed this section in the building code in the 1300 series, and it has to do with building setbacks. And if you look at the dates on these, that's from 1977, 1983, 1990, and now, since the city of Bucyrus has adopted a zoning code, all the setbacks are addressed through the zoning code and not this section of the building code. So, and a certain section of this, item C, had to deal with setbacks in the fire zone. And Chief Schwimley and I talked about this earlier, and he felt that that section should just be removed because it's addressed elsewhere in the code. And I believe the fire code, section 1500, is what the chief was telling me. So he recommended we just remove item C out of it. So when you get down to it, all we need is one section that refers everybody to the zoning code for the setback requirements in the city. So as you can see with this handout, we got this long section and that's current. We can just clear all that out and just have this little paragraph that refers everybody to that code.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Rostow?
Makes sense.
No, but I'd make a motion to change that.
Okay.
And
All right, do I have a second?
however-
Second.
All right,
However that is transpired.
I have a first from Dan, a second from Kevin. There's no other discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimous. All right, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Wagner, the 2023 mill and pave, sir.
Yeah, we had put in the budget for mill and pave this year, and due to the lack of carryover that we typically have in the street fund, Mr. Wyatt from McKeever's and Jeff Dunn are here to go over the list. We've made a few cuts off of that to start a little bit of a more carryover in that fund due to in '25, it comes back up for renewal. So we got to put some money back in that fund to be able to survive if for some reason it would fail. So they're here to go over the streets and kind of tell you how much it's going to cost and how much we cut. So I'll turn it over to Dylan and Jeff.
Dylan Wyatt, McKeever and Associates. So if you guys remember, back in 2020, council approved the 3-year program for the streets. The last 2 years, we have followed through with that program and came in under budget, but with the lack of carryover for coming into this year, we cut quite a few streets. Originally, we were at about 1.4 million that this project was going to cost if we followed through with the 3-year plan. Currently, we've cut that down to just over $1 million, which will help increase carryover by about $157,000 going into next year. Most of the streets that we cut out, we did so because of other projects that are coming up. The High, Sherman, Teddy, Woodrow, up in the northeast end, we're planning to move those back a year to be able to accommodate the Dudley Street separation and reconstruction project. Since that project's probably not going to get started till this fall, it's likely not going to get paved until spring of '24. So to not have all of the truck traffic in and out of that project on the freshly paved streets, we moved those ones back. And we've moved several others back just for potential upcoming storm projects. So we don't want to pave these streets and then come back in a year or two and tear them up to do another storm project. So right now we're at a total of 15 streets and $1,004,000 with contingency and everything included. Anything else?
No, I think we would just, and that's with the contingency, Dylan?
That's with
Yep.
contingency.
Yeah, we just like permission to go out to bid.
You want that as an emergency?
I do believe we would like that to get, the sooner we get it out to bid, the better.
I will make a motion requesting emergency legislation authorizing the administration to go out to bid for the 2023 mill and pave project.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a first from Kevin and a second by Terry.
Kevin's motion was as an emergency.
Yeah,
It was.
Is as an emergency.
So now.
If there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passed, unanimous. Okay, any open projects?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I do have the new language for your portable shipping containers that you guys wanted us to look at and address.
Okay.
So if you have that handout there, I think this is very comprehensive in addressing all the issues that were brought to light when we were discussing this, including Aaron Sherrick's concern for the appearance of them. And the way I handled that was I made them subject to our International Property Maintenance Code, and that addresses the structural integrity and the painting, the exterior coatings on it. Mr. Myers wanted to make sure that the placards were removed, and so I included that language in here under item E, so that all the Department of Transportation placards would need to be removed. And also, they would be subject to the Ohio Building Code and the Residential Code of Ohio if they made modifications to the shipping container. So they can be safe and sound. And then also, we made them conditional uses in the residential districts. So the Board of Zoning Appeals would have oversight over the placement of these shipping containers. And so it's a very comprehensive. Each one is looked at on a case-by-case basis. And it would no longer be treated as just a shed or a garage, because they're so unique. At least the board would look at it and not just me approving it as just, the zoning administrator.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Rostash?
No, I would like to commend Mr. Rostash. It's very, very good, very thorough.
Thank you.
Yes. And that was, it met the basically, a shipping container cannot be placed without going to the Board of Zoning. Or what is it, Board of
Zoning Appeals.
Appeals.
And yes, and you did say you wanted it to have its own section in the zoning code, and that's what it has here.
Okay, that's great. I think that's perfect.
I'll make a motion requesting legislation adding section 1187.07 to the city codified ordinance.
I'll second that.
All right.
Thank you.
First from Kevin and a second by Dan. That's regular legislation. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion, those opposed, same sign. Motion passed, unanimous.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Good job.
Yeah, nice work.
Thank you, that's very comprehensive. If there's nothing else on the open project for this time, I will, any public participation, I'm sorry. None, okay. That, I will adjourn at 7:07.
Economic Development Committee, January 19th, 2023.
I'd like to call economic development to order at
7:09.
7:09 PM with members present, C. Aaron Sherrick, Steve Young, Mark McKeever, and myself, Chair. We'll start with opening the floor to any public participation.
And I guess I did.
Dan Wireball, 1092 Martha Avenue. But, and I had sent an email to Brenton and the law director, and I just like for them to follow up with the committee.
with my proposal to start enforcing the annexation policy for the city of Bucyrus. So I don't know how you guys want to go about that, but you know, we're sitting here, you know, we need money, but there's money out there, and we need to start it sometime. We should have started it 10, 15 years ago, but so it's there, it's the law, and I guess the next step would be seeing what legally council can do to have that enforced. So, you know, I don't know. So that's going to be my next step. So if you guys can follow up on that, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Do you want to speak on that at all, Brian, or?
Or do you want to pull it up and look at it and get back to us?
Yeah, so I'll get back to you. I mean, I looked at it, and there's quite a bit to that, as far as dates and who plugged into the sewers at what times.
Sure.
And I think we used to bill twice the rate for water for out of town to try and entice people to become annexed in town, and then we did away with that. And
Not for sewer, did you say sewer?
no, water.
Water.
Yeah.
We only allow water to be,
Cut back.
well, no, we cut back everything. The water was a 1.5%. But we cut back that you could get water without being annexed, but sewer, you have to be annexed.
Right. Right. 'Cause we were trying to
New, I mean.
Sure.
We were trying to, yeah. But yes, I will
Okay.
look at that, bring that to council, this committee.
I was going to
2 weeks.
say, we're not allowed to have pockets, like, we weren't
No,
allowed to go around
you
areas.
have to be contiguous.
Yeah.
No islands. Yes.
Sounds good. Well, at least speak on it a little bit.
And a reminder, like 2 weeks in advance.
So throw something out.
I'll remind you.
I know.
All right, next up, we need an approval of minutes from the December 8th, 2022 Economic Development meeting.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to accept amended minutes as, because at the beginning of this, it says that McKeever called the economic development, and it was you, Mr. Potter. So we're going to change those words, and I will make a motion to accept them as that amended.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Next up, we've got the Property Maintenance Board, Jared Miller. I'm not sure if somebody's here to speak on that. I know he came and talked a while back, but.
He talked about, I think we need to,
Okay, I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, so he's not here anymore.
He isn't, no. I'm not sure if we were expecting him or if there was anything else we needed to speak on.
approve him to the maintenance.
he has to be appointed by the
Oh, he needs to
council
be
to
appointed.
the board.
Okay.
So we need a motion to approve Mr. Jared Miller to be appointed to the Property Maintenance Board.
Yes. Was that a question? Or
Yes, that was a
Or a
question.
motion?
Do you want to make that motion?
I will make a motion
Now that you-
to approve Mr. Miller to the Property Maintenance Board.
I'll second that.
All right. We've got a first from Ms. Sherrick and a second from Mr. Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Next is the CRA application, and Mr. David Zak, if you want to speak on that a little bit.
I included what you said in the.
Okay, perfect,
I want to
okay.
refer to it.
Thank
It is
you.
in the packet.
Yeah, just a couple extra comments. Appreciate the consideration. First, just in general, community reinvestment area. It's basically the state gives local government the ability to give a tax break on new property improvements. So you never give a tax break on existing revenue coming into the schools, coming into other governments, but it's to incentivize new development, new increases on the property tax rolls that'll appear on the auditor. So that's pretty much how the program is. It does commercial, it does industrial, it does residential, but it gives this council the ability to see evaluate, and approve every single one. So none of them are automatic, and it goes through a process. In terms of how things have been done, to date, typically the city has, there hasn't been one in quite a while. I think the Burger King project, 2019 was the last one that was done. But as we've begun to kick up, there are interests from developers and others to potentially use this program and do more development in the city of Bucyrus, which is a very, very positive thing. One thing I offered the administration is that, I understood that the city was paying $3,000 to Pogemeyer to outsource kind of the management of the front end. We said, we'll just do that. We're your economic development agent. We're not charging for that, just part of what we do. So, and there are reasons for that. Part of it's creating an experience that's very quick, that's very efficient, and very collaborative. And so what we did, I appreciate the work with Brian, the work with John, the administration, Jeff, and everybody else. So we kind of figured out what the ordinances were, how it worked. We set up a process whereby we have initial kind of discussions with the administration, but I also talk with the superintendent of both the affected local school district, because most of the real property taxes are, affect the schools. And you have the legal ability to just notify them, but that's never how I like to approach things. So I talked to Forrest and his treasurer. I talked to Greg Nicolai up at Pioneer, because even though they have a small stake in it, they're still affected school district. And they're both in support of that process and in support of this project that we're talking about. So this project that we're talking about, it was several weeks ago when they approached us and approached the city and said, hey, we have gotten incentives to revitalize and do projects in other communities, and we would be interested, does that exist here? We would like to take advantage of that. And so we've been working together to figure out a process and get it straightened out. So I'm kind of pleased that we've been able to use this as a kind of a test case to create a new process and get it so that as the next ones come in, we will be very efficient. So Jim Manos is the guy, and he's been very patient and understands, and so it's been good to work with him. The particular agreement that you have is something where we have a building in the city that's been vacant for a long time. It's been vacant for more than a decade. So the former Carter Lumber Building, looking at taking that and developing additional space, flex space, warehouse space, storage space, in addition to putting hundreds of thousands of dollars to renovate that, adding on $1.5 million in additional new construction. So what does that mean? Not only is it a tax break, but it means more tax revenue. So my general policy recommendation, there are exceptions to this, as a general rule, what I tend to recommend to the administration of the schools, when it's a project that I think is something that I think is worthy of support, I tend to recommend 50% for 10 years, which is a very kind of standard thing. If it's particularly competitive, I might go up to 75%. I think there's been only once or twice in my career when I've gone up to 100%. So I like there being new revenue, so it's a benefit to everybody. Everybody kind of wins, and this is acceptable to the person looking to do the project. So it's exciting to have that. So they're kind of waiting as soon as it could potentially be approved. Normally, I think in a process, we would like to have 3 readings. I think just with the weeks and weeks that it's taken. So just going out from this, if this committee recommends it to council, we would look to get it expedited. But normally our process is to give as much time as possible. But that time, that extra month, half, has been really straightening out the process. But I just want to take more time than normal to kind of address all that. But I'm excited. I think what happens is as you get more tax revenue in, as you approve more of these projects, you're going to see more development come. And it's going to positively affect the coffers. It's more of a long-term investment, though. I'm excited about bringing more revenue into the city and being a part of facilitating that in partnership with you all and with the city and many other partners. It takes time, but I'm excited. People say, why do you get excited about something like this? It's one brick at a time. It's one project at a time. You don't build your community on home runs and Intel dreams. You build it on good, small, medium-sized, strong, solid companies and small projects and every improvement to the tax base. So I get excited about this. I always apologize, trying not to go on too long. But I want to make sure this first time that I'm kind of giving you an overview. And so see if there are any questions.
Do you guys have any questions? Mr. Young?
No, it makes, if we can bring someone in, even though it's at 50%, it's empty right now. So if we can put somebody in it, even at 50%, it's still better than nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it.
So we need a motion to grant this.
As an emergency? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yeah, so you needed a motion.
I'll make a request for emergency legislation to approve for the property at 1850 Marion Road for Bucyrus Storage Complex LLC to approve.
Okay. We got a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. So we got a first from Mr. McKeever and a second from Ms. Sherrick. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Okay, is there any open projects besides annexation that anybody wants to speak on? No? Okay. Last one,
We need, we still need somebody for Board of Zoning, Property Maintenance Board, do we not? Since Mr. Schiffer is no longer on there.
that's what we just did.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got, and do we also need one for the tax review board? We have,
You need 3.
well, one from the administration and 2 from us. And we have one possibly sitting in the back of the room, so.
Administration.
Oh, come on.
No, we asked her first.
Okay. Well, I just want to make it known that we, please, anybody in the public who is interested to help the city and the taxpayers on the review board, we need volunteers. So, okay, that's what I just wanted to bring that up.
All right. Anything else from anybody else before I open it up to the public? No? All right. Last on the agenda is any public participation. If not, we will adjourn at 7:23 p.m.
Service Committee, January 19th, 2023.
Okay, I'd like to call the Service Committee meeting together at 7:24 PM. Members present are Steve Young, C. Aaron Sherrick, Brenton Potter, and myself, Chairman. We'd like to open up to the public. If anybody has anything they want to talk, go ahead, you got the mic. Okay, seeing none. We need to approve the minutes of the December 8th, 2022 regular meeting.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Potter, second by Ms. Sherrick. Any more, need a sec? Got a second on that? You did, didn't you? Sherrick.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion? Vote? Usual sign?
Aye.
So,
Sorry.
motion carries. Yeah. Okay. 2023 material bids. Jeff?
Yes.
Anything to say on that?
I checked with the foremans, and none of the items are changing off the material bid list that we went out to bid for last year. So really, I just need legislation to go back out to bid as an emergency, so we can get those in before the old material bid prices expire, so we can compare them.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on what they need?
Yes, please. What are we looking at?
Well, there, Susan's got a list there. She didn't know to make copies, but it's the same material bid items we use, whether it's stone, gravel, pipe clamps. There's a list from every department. Concrete. It's the same as we put out last year.
Yep.
You need to see it, Steve?
No new additions, just everything's identical?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we'll go with it.
Okay. Okay, we need a request legislation, need a motion to do so and declare emergency of it?
I was gonna say, does that need to be emergency?
Yeah, because he needs to have it done.
I'll make the motion, or the request for legislation as an emergency.
Okay, we got a motion from Brenton, second by Steve. Any more discussion on that?
No.
Everybody vote?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, county line, water line project. Dylan, you back up on that? Jeff?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Dylan, just, it's kind of an update of where we're at with the county water line, so I'll let
Okay.
Dylan just give you a brief 2-minute dissertation.
So with the 3 county water line projects, Stetzer Road Phase 2 going down 602 and tying back into Lincoln Highway, the Sulphur Springs water line going up Locust Grove, and the Osceola project. We are in the process of changing legislation with the commissioners, which would allow the city to go out to bid and be the main contractee.
Can you talk louder, sorry?
Sorry. It would allow the city to go out to bid and be the main contractee for the Sulphur Springs water line, which allows the city to go after potential grant funding for that project. The other 2 projects are going to remain the same, with the commissioners, with the Crawford County Commissioners being the contractee for the project. So just kind of an update on those. We're in the process of working on the first 2. The Stetzer Road portion will be going to EPA here very soon. And we're in the process of design on the Sulphur water line. But with the water quality issues that people have up in Sulphur, there's a good opportunity for grant funding that the city can apply for their portion of the project. So we needed to change and have the city be the main contractee for that in order to apply for the funding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the building setback requirements was sent to council by the previous committee, one of them. So we just need to agree to what they did, that we want to say it's okay for them to go ahead and do that. So I think we need a motion to agree to that.
Do we need to do anything or?
Yeah, I think we have to.
We have to
Yeah,
anyways.
I think we do on that, yeah. Need a you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve, yeah.
Was
Okay.
that as an emergency before?
Did you have it?
That was emergency.
Okay.
No, it was not.
Okay, that's not,
No.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we didn't have to.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Out.
I don't think that it is, to be
Oh.
honest with you.
We'll take it out.
So we can just remove
good.
it. I was wondering why it was there, but it was there.
I think he put that in at the last meeting on it. Yeah.
Ah, see,
think
these
so.
guys are messing us
I
up over here in the
blame-
corner.
Yeah.
Let's figure it
I
out.
blame the corner.
Committee has to do anything with it.
Okay, All Miller Service Road, which is the access road. Jeff, you want to just?
Yes,
Talk about
as you know, we've been going through the budget quite a bit of just looking at different ways to fund some of these projects, and we had legislation to put the access road in for the sewer attached to the Park District path they were going to put in, and the project, the amount we had covered for it was $143,000. However, being where it's at and some more investigation by McKeever's, the cost is actually going to go up about $89,000. So what we did is I talked with the foreman and Jeff and Dylan, and we think what we'd like to offer out to you guys, and it's totally up to you how we do this, we would like to turn that 143 back into the ARPA money, and we can pay for the whole project out of the stormwater fund. Right now, we had an ending balance at $2,770,000 and some change. Our revenue is going to be a little over $1 million. We'd have about 3.9 available, and our budget for this year is $2,004,644. So we're still going to have a hefty carryover balance at the end of the year, probably over $2 million. So we could actually afford to pay for this right out of the stormwater fund.
Hey, sorry. Can I ask
go
this?
ahead.
John, could you, it's hard to see from here, could you point out, I guess, what your path is, or?
Yeah, sure. The portion that, of the city's part of this project, the The heavy-duty path begins here at the Friendship Bridge, heads west along the river, till it's just past the, across the river from the wastewater plant. Then it starts and turns north up to River Road. Is it River Road? What road is that? Nevada Road. So it goes up north to Nevada Road. And as Mr. Dunn was saying, this would probably be the access point up here off of Nevada Road
Yes, that
to
would
get
be
down
the
here.
primary way we come into it.
So then what's the portion that goes down to the, that's just an exit path at that point?
No, that would be for the CSOs and to maintain the sewer line that's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of
Is
the
there,
intersection.
what is there,
Northwest trunk line.
three CSOs along there? Or two?
Two, one's been closed. one-
Yeah.
Two. The two CSOs we gotta maintain, plus the footage of line that's there,
Okay.
which has a lot of tree roots and stuff in it that we can't maintain right now.
So beyond, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So this portion is going to be built to handle the heavier truck traffic that we would have for maintenance of that line.
Okay, so once you get down to that ending point, then you're at the Friendship Bridge, which is where the walking path would be.
Yeah.
So beyond that, they're not gonna drive onto that. 'Cause
No,
That can't handle that. They're gonna end up turning around and going back the other direction or whatever they're gonna do at
Correct.
that point.
They'll probably put in some sort of turnaround here that the truck can make a three-point turn or something.
So for this path, this path will parallel the northwest trunk line the entire way. And wherever there is a manhole or a CSO, we are installing a pull-off area where the service department, the sewers drains department would be able to maintain that sewer from the manhole and still allow access for the path itself. And these pull-offs will also give them an area to turn around so that they can exit back out to Nevada Road.
How often do you clean these or maintenance these? Is it?
Well, going on 28 years, I've been in there dry weather maybe twice.
Yeah.
And when it's wet, I can't get in there at all.
Well, I guess, if you have access to it, is it like a yearly thing you go and clean them all out, or is it multiple
It probably
times, or
won't
just
be
depends?
yearly,
But
as needed.
As needed?
Until we get the separation done in town, it's probably gonna be more often.
Okay.
But the people at the wastewater plant, they check those CSOs every week, do they not?
Yes.
Do they?
Or even when it rains, they have to go out and check on them and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, make sure they're not, have a dry weather overflow and stuff like that, so.
And Tim, if the foreman for the wastewater plant, Tim Wood is here, he can kind of elaborate a little bit about the EPA and where we're at with them on this issue.
Right at the corner there, there's a manhole, and it must be partially plugged coming up to the plant because that manhole, it'll overflow out there on a heavy rain, and we're not permitted to overflow there. So that's considered an SSO. So our permit says no SSOs allowed, which it's, sewage going right to the river. It goes out the manhole, goes to the river. So the EPA knows about it, and we had an inspection in May, and they want us to eliminate it, and we have no access now to clean it.
Mr. People, could we get some, what kind of point? I know you, several in here, know what we're looking at and what you're talking about. Me,
John?
I'll go all sider.
Tim,
I'm not even-
Dylan or Jeff?
Yeah, Dylan,
Well, can you pull up the GIS? Or can you pull up the GIS, that would show it better.
So I presume everybody's been talking here at different times. We're talking about an access driveway or road, are we not? For the people to access. We're not talking about digging up, putting sewer, new sewers.
No, it's
We're
already
talking
there.
about access
It's already there.
above
Yeah.
ground for the city people to access certain points.
Yeah,
correct?
because pre-existing sewer already is there.
Just
They're
a
just-
way to get into it.
Yeah.
But the manhole he was talking about, he referred to a corner. I'm not too sure where we're at here.
Tim, you can go up and point at that if you want to.
Yeah, it's right at where the lines, where the road's coming down.
Right
Yeah,
there,
They have a manhole
right there.
right there. The northwest trunk line comes from the industrial park up around, and then it comes past the plant and then into the plant. So the manhole, yeah, it's right at the corner there.
It's in the north side, on the north side of the river.
Yeah.
Yes, and we have no access
to the
it.
west side of the
Yeah.
sewer plant.
So we have no way to clean it as of right now. We can't get over their equipment.
Okay.
He's bringing up the GIS, I believe, what John's attempting to do.
Trying to, it's not coming up. Are you good?
That's it. We know.
He's having trouble getting it.
Yeah, okay.
So, you're talking about taking it out of the stormwater fund? Okay, and what all is that used for?
Stormwater drainage.
Like, I
What-
mean, it
yeah.
can only be used for those sorts of things, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I did confirm with our former auditor sitting in the back to make sure we were allowed to do that.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so those funds can only be used for like stormwater things, and this, because this gets an access to it, it opens it up as a project that can be covered by that.
Correct.
Yes.
And Dylan, if you wouldn't mind going over the numbers, I mean, I have 232, but if you have them more correct, and has that got a contingency in it?
Yeah, so the total project included the city's portion of this project, including contingency, is $237,000. So that pays for, the city is pairing, I'm not sure if it was clear before, the city is pairing up with the Park District to pay for this path. So the Park District is paying for that main north-south portion of the path, and then the city is, their portion is everything from where that tees down in over towards the east.
What's it gonna be, the road gonna be made of? It's gonna be
It
the
is-
asphalt, the old asphalt out there, or?
The road is 8 inches of stone and 3.5 inches of asphalt.
Okay.
So it's made for, and it's 10 feet wide.
Okay.
It is made for the city trucks, the sewer truck to be able to
Okay.
drive on. Not every day, but
Sure.
it can drive on it.
And, okay, so this has a path coming from the road. Is there going to be something up there to keep people from driving down it?
So
Just everybody?
this was a very preliminary drawing here. So where you come off of Nevada Road, you'll come down into the Park District's property. There's gonna be a small parking lot there, and then the path will come down off of that. What we do at the start of our paths is we have a post bollard on either side, and then we have a removable bollard in the middle. Typically, that's for emergency access, but in the case of the city here, they'll be able to remove that to get the sewer truck back in there.
And that'll be on both ends there on the other side too by the
Yeah.
park?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions?
So one other thing the mayor brought up, obviously the cost difference in this is drastic compared to what was approved previously. So with the city's portion of the path, it is a substantial dirt work project. We start off up in the high area coming along, and then we have to get down into the river bottom ground, and we have to do that all in order to make this an ADA accessible path. We do that all at 5% slopes, and right now it is basically a drop-off. So it's a substantial dirt work project, and also we're adding a lot of drainage so that we're not trapping water on the uphill side of this path. So we're able to elevate the path some to keep it out of the floodwaters as much as possible and allow drainage to bypass under it. So that added a little bit of extra cost to this project. But the biggest portion of it has been the increases we've seen in asphalt prices and the substantial amount of dirt work that we have to do for it.
Did you, I don't know if you said earlier or not, did you give like an estimate time-wise? Start to finish?
Our intention for this, we're very close on the design on this project. Our intention is that this is built this summer.
This summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have, in the past on these bike paths, they're always in the woods, always in low-lying areas. So we really need to be able to build it this summer when it's drier so that we can actually get it. The last one we did, we had a lot of problems getting equipment in and out and dewatering the site. So our intention is to build this summer.
Now, as far as the EPA goes, by having it completed this summer, then we're going to be in compliance with the EPA then, will be done.
Yes, we just need to, when Tim Wood and Jeff Dunn met with EPA out there, they need to see movement forward, that we're doing something to fix the issue.
Something's happening.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we need to probably have a motion to go ahead with this project. You need it as an emergency, Jeff, you think?
Yes, because I think they're.
Okay,
on a
ready to go?
timeframe with the Park District to
Okay.
do it together.
So can we request legislation and declare emergency of it? Need a motion to do that from somebody?
I'll make a motion to request legislation as an emergency.
Got a motion from Steve. Need a second? No seconds?
I guess I'm just confused by the mention of a bike path and ADA accessibility on a service road. Was that just a misuse of?
Is that to make it mixed use?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so part of this project, being that we're sharing this with the Park District, the city really needs this service road, and the Park District wants a bike path. So
Okay.
we're able, the Park District is willing to pay extra for their section of this bike path to make it accessible for the city, to pay extra for more substantial sections
So it
so that
makes
it
it
holds up to the
multi-use.
truck traffic. So it is most certainly a multi-use path.
Okay.
The city can use it, be able to utilize those pull-offs so that they can maintain their sewer, and the Park District is able to use it as a path for pedestrians.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion. Need a second?
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion from Brenton, second. Any more discussion on this? You got something to say on it?
I've just got educated on this in the last few days that I've heard about this. So I'm coming to council members as just a citizen taxpayer, and also for the public. This is a twofold thing, and I'm going to tell you right up front from what a little bit I've heard and what I've heard tonight. This is a project that needs to be done. I don't see where the city has much trouble. Being a taxpayer and knowing where the finances are of this city at this time, I would like to sit here and bite my tongue. But like all good budgets and all good things, some things have to be done. Let's use your house for example, and we've heard about a manhole and it may dump sewer in the river. And for those who have never dealt with the EPA, I'd probably rather fight rattlesnakes. But if you're at home and your toilet quits working, you don't sit there and tell your wife says, honey, I'm sorry, we can't use the toilet until I get a paycheck in about 2 weeks. We did hear at the beginning, if I understood correctly, there's a way to adjust the finances that was discussed about this earlier. Some of the monies can be switched.
This comes from what's called enterprise funds, which is not funded through taxpayers. It's a use fund, actually.
Okay.
So that fund doesn't have the stress on it that the general fund does.
But you've already looked at some of the money. You have a way to move some, am I correct? Or put something back somewhere and use some other money as a bank. And I guess the words I heard early on was those other monies you're looking at using, that you have some of, comes from this surface water, rainwater, stormwater, which is what we are paying stormwater for, is the way I'm kind of looking at it as a taxpayer. So I would tell you as a taxpayer and a person standing here, the city doesn't have much choice. You have to have access to those holes. Yep. I heard the statement made that already we have overflow that hits the river and EPA is sitting at our doorstep. Yep. So you have an access that you have to get down there. You have an opportunity to do a joint operation with a park district who would like to also build a pathway for their park and share it. I've dealt with the members of this council before. I find all of you with common sense, understandability of what needs to be done going, and all of you have proven that well to me. I'm going to tell you, as a taxpayer and so on, I don't see where you have a choice in this. Maybe the wording is right, and you kept call it the same words I did. I don't put the words bike path in here. If there's going to be a section that the park's going to use, okay.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm telling you, this is something I'm telling council we should go with.
Okay, we got
Thank
a
you.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Open projects. Does anybody have anything want to be brought up? Seeing none, public participation anymore from the public? If not, we will adjourn at 7:47.
Finance Committee, January 19th, 2023.
I'll call the Finance Committee back to order at 7:49. Everybody's still here. Was there, you wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, I just really quickly want to say, I know to the administration, I had challenged you to find some ways to cut some things back, and I just want to commend you guys. I think that's, with what we just discussed in the Service Committee with the way to use the enterprise funds to make that happen, I just really want to say thank you and commend you guys for that.
I think the credit goes to Jeff Wagner on that.
No.
Thank you.
Go to Jeff Dunn, too.
Yeah,
So we
no.
all-
Thank you all,
Yeah.
all the Jeffs.
Okay,
By way of that, though,
Oh.
it's not on your agenda, but Finance Committee would need to approve that project too, as the funding aspect of it.
oh,
Do we need to do that now or not until after they get the bids back?
You would need to approve them to go out to bid and award it a contract.
Do you have a not to exceed number?
237.
237.
237?
well, let's do that.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion requesting emergency legislation authorizing the administration to go out to bid using the enterprise fund with a not-to-exceed amount of $237,000.
I'll second that.
All right, we've got Kevin with the motion and Mark with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're good with that. Now, we've discussed the county water line project. We needed to do something on that, didn't we? Need to move,
No, that was just discussion, just so you guys updated, that's all.
well, I thought we had, we were taking over the,
We're still
oh,
dealing with the.
we don't have to do anything with it. Okay, and mill and pave, I guess, that was just an update on that also.
No.
No.
we
What's that
Oh, we
not-to-exceed number?
$1,004,000.
I'll make a motion as emergency to go out to bid to not exceed $1,004,000.
I'll second that.
Was that 4,000 or 400,000?
4,000.
$1,004,000, okay. We have a first and second, did we?
Yeah.
Did you get it? Oh, who?
Aye. Kevin, second.
Kevin? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, now, AFSCME contract, who's talking about that?
So I need a request for legislation. Did the AFSCME contract pass your union timeout? It was an emergency. So I need legislation to approve the AFSCME contract. The basic guise, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is a $1 base rate pay plus 2% for the first year, and then another 2% in the second year, and then it reopens in the third year. So I need legislation to approve that contract as an emergency, I suppose.
Can I get a motion for that?
Is it retroactive to something or not?
Yes.
Retroactive to January
Just
1st.
January? Okay, okay. Yeah, I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
As an emergency.
Yes.
As an
That's an
emergency.
Thank you.
emergency. Terry made the motion, Mark second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now we're on to another, now we're on the firefighter contract. What do we know
Has
about that?
Mr. Arnett signed the firefighter contract?
I have no idea on that.
I think we're waiting on the union's attorney to sign that, but I would need a motion and a second to approve the firefighter contract as an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
I know the union officers have signed it.
Everybody but Mr. Arnett has signed it, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Maybe we call him.
So,
So now you, yeah, motion and second.
A second.
motion by Kevin, second by Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Manpower ordinance.
Typically, we do on the manpower ordinance, the same
Oh.
thing that we awarded the the AFSCME contract,
right.
which would be the $1 base rate pay plus 2% in the first year and 2% in the second year. So that would be something that you guys would discuss, but I would ask, historically, we've mirrored the Manpower Act with the AFSCME
Historically, we
contract.
have- Do I have a motion to continue that
I'll make a motion.
historical precedence?
I'll make a
there?
motion, we approve the manpower contract and declare as emergency,
Retroactive to January 1st.
retroactive January 1st.
Thank you.
Second that.
Second from Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. All right. Now we're into open projects. We're really moving along here. You have something?
Yeah, I want to, just for a point of clarification, just because we've talked a lot about these ARPA funds, so no longer using the ARPA funds for the sewer road project. And then also the discussion about the money that we're fronting for the splash pad when that gets returned to us. And I know you guys said that you want to be fiscally responsible with that. What, if anything, do we need to do to make, sure that that money is kind of left sitting to be used if we need it to get through payroll through the year?
Well, we're watching tax revenues very closely.
Right.
We're going to be looking at the budget. And it's.
I mean, that money's not appropriated for any use right now, correct?
Not appropriate for anything right now. And
Excuse me, I do believe it is appropriated.
That's what I'm checking.
190 is appropriated for the splash pad.
Right. But when that money gets returned to us.
Correct. You
There
are
we go.
correct. I'll let Joyce speak, but
She's the
you are
person that
correct.
knows. Sure.
Joyce Schiffer, 325 Joan Drive, Bucyrus. I did appropriate the money. There were two lines in other uses in the budget, in the ARPA funds. That's Fund 271. Okay. One was reimbursement to the sewer fund, which is what we were going to use for this path that we just decided is going to get spent out of the stormwater. Okay. The other line was reimbursements to the general fund if needed. So since that's in the same category as transfers, that money that was going to go to the sewer fund can be moved without legislation to reimbursement to the general fund. So there's nothing needed for that part of it. And then the other can sit there until we know exactly what we're doing, and if it needs to be moved down to reimbursements, it can.
Okay, so really my question, I think you answered it, was we need to do nothing.
Right,
Okay,
right.
thank you.
You're welcome.
What's that?
Joyce?
Yeah. She said it better.
And
Thank
then,
you.
okay. Anyone have any open projects? I just have a question for the law director, I guess. Because we talked about city officials' pay if we do nothing by, I think I sent you an email on that too.
Right.
If we do nothing by February 2nd, then it stays the same, or do we have to do something?
If we do nothing by February 2nd, it would stay at the current rates. If you want to do something, you have to do it by February 2nd.
Right.
Otherwise, it remains status quo.
Okay, so I leave that to the committee, but, okay. I just didn't want to,
I think this predates me, but there's like percentage raises in the old official stuff. The old elected official legislation has like 1% raises every 2 years or something like that. I don't know. Do you know how that works?
There's people that are in office right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe the auditor got a larger raise.
gotcha.
2 raises.
That's fine.
Fairly large.
But those would then expire,
Yes.
and we would be set at the rate that you're
We're set at what we are now. We're frozen. Yes.
I would, like I said earlier, at a meeting, I think you seriously need to consider the responsibility that the auditor is under. I think that should be paid commensurate with the responsibility that they have for the city and the hard work. Whatever you want to do with your own, or
Right.
any elected officials, that's up to you. I think the auditor's been grossly underpaid. I think they're still underpaid compared to other auditors, which are our size. Community does some research and we're still underpaid in that. So I would strongly consider for the next term, whatever you choose, increasing the auditor's pay.
And just for the, I guess for the record, I agree with you, which seldom we do, but I do agree with you. No, we do.
He said it to me too.
Yeah, so anyhow, yeah, I agree, but and you know, it's up to the committee at this point, so. Well, before February 2nd, that's why I brought it up.
I think we should too. I think we should.
So you have to bring it up tonight and
Yes.
vote on it and bring it up to full.
You'd have to have a special meeting.
You'd have to have a
accomplish that.
special
Which we have to anyway
Which
for
we
the
have to have a
library.
special meeting for the library.
And we can put this on.
Plausibly.
When's the special meeting for the library?
Not next Monday, sometime after next Monday, when the library meets next Monday at 5 to 10, their second business.
Okay.
Just one more thing I want to
Yeah.
say, the auditors, I don't know how much it comes out of the general fund, I know it's a very, Joyce could answer that,
Right.
very small portion of that comes out of the general fund.
Right.
That's what, just gonna clarify, it comes out of the 5 funds.
Yeah, 100%'s out of the general fund.
Oh, the auditor, okay, I'm sorry.
Not the staff, but the auditor,
Okay.
the mayor, we're 100%.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I thought yours was, sure.
Okay, so.
Staff is split.
Committee, yeah, I'm just throwing it out to the committee. I knew there was a timeline and,
Add that to it. We want to-
So you make a motion to increase the auditor's pay by what?
By how much, you mean?
Yes.
I'd have to look at it and see. I don't know. What do you make now? What's the auditor make now?
For 2023.
Did I send you guys an email last week?
57. At least 65, I would think. I don't know.
Joyce, can I, Mr.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Joyce, what do you think, I know this is not a fair question to ask you, because you've toiled that office and not been paid commensurate with what do you think is fair, compared to other auditors? What do you think is a fair wage for that job?
I just can't see doing it right now.
I mean, if you want to let them, you want to think about it, let them know.
I know.
I'm not trying to put those I already have, but the $65,000 Terry just said a fair wage.
I would say that.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's probably at the bottom end of what I've looked at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably, well, you can't compare us to some other places, but, you know, I keep getting emails with offers or whatever, which is double that.
There's a lot of them are six-figure jobs now,
Yeah.
so financial officers, so especially whatever you decide to do as a body,
Right.
you know, I will assign it.
Oh. Where we at on that? We're gonna want to raise it to 65, is that? I mean,
I don't think this is the
we
time.
can do it at that special meeting in what, we're having after for the library, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Garrett?
Yes, we have to have a library special
We
meeting.
can add that to it. the agenda that we're gonna pass that, and it would get done by February 2nd, correct?
We could accomplish this by February, the February election day, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
It's
And it's up
definitely,
to you guys, I'm not.
Well,
I really like to do it, but we gotta watch. We're at a tough time at the moment, and I agree, the auditors should be paid more for what they have to do.
well, if we're going to
Go
get,
anywhere else, but financially, we're, you know, with the contracts that just been approved, and we've got to look at what's going to happen come August. If, well, actually, what happens in May. If that income tax levy doesn't pass, then we're really going to be in trouble. So, yeah, we're between a rock and a hard place on the timing. I mean, I wish we could do it midterm, but we can't do it. It's not allowed by state law.
So I've noticed here in the last year that I've been here, that this council has been reactive. We wait till we have a situation, then we do something. We're not proactive. And so you guys, we need to get more proactive. Putting the sewer in there, that's a proactive move that hopefully that will keep us from getting a fine from the EPA. But that's my only comment to the council as a whole. We've made several decisions that it's like,
but,
okay, so.
but if you want to get, if
That's
you
my
want,
2 cents, but
if-
anyhow.
let me say, if you want to attract the right person for that job, you're going to have to pay him or pay her for that job. I mean, Joyce has been a great auditor, and she's been underpaid, and she only complains to me at church. No. But you know what I mean? If we want to get a decent person to follow her up, we need to pay them. It's just that simple. I know we don't have any, finances are tough, but we get a good person in there, that person can make it a little easier somehow, so. I don't know.
From the outside, could I ask a question? I'm going back on memory a little bit. Being an elected official, I know what you're looking at doing, but once you set this wage, is that wage not set for the term?
Yes.
The entire term?
Yes.
that person-
Yes.
That's why we have to do it before February
So
2nd.
now you have to do it, but you have to look at it, and this is the outsider looking in. You're not looking at just this wage. To give her a raise, or that person, him, her, it, a raise for that next year, and there's gonna be more. Whatever this wage is that you set for that position to start is gonna be that wage for at least 4 years without any other increase. So that is a little different than the person that gets a yearly raise. So
Yes.
it's, you know, the state gets into the same thing when they set elected officials' wages and sheriff's wages. So, you know, whatever that person's gonna get when they start, that's what they're stuck with for 4 years. So I think you have to take that into consideration on behalf of that job position also.
Just a
Okay,
suggestion,
yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do every year, say $1,500, something like that, $1,250, so at the end of 4 years, you've got $5,000 in there.
I don't know,
Would that be something you would consider?
I'm just here to entertain a motion, so.
If I could, I think our biggest concern is getting through 2023 and potentially 2024. So, you know, we know the back pay that we're worried about with the fire contract and things was a big stickling point. I could buy into that, you know, because, you know, as much as I think that position deserves a raise, absolutely, but right now, no, you know, because we don't have the money. We're in, you know, you've told us that we're concerned that we aren't going to be able to make payroll for the last half of the year as it is. And so for this coming year, no, I can't support that, but I think if you could do it, if you could do it in
But it's not
such a
this
way-
coming
can-
year,
can I-
it'll be
can I
next
finish my-
year.
Can I finish my statement?
Sure.
If we can do it in such a way that allows a raise to happen maybe on years 3 and 4 of that 4-year term, I think that's a much easier thing that we can accomplish.
This year's wage, 23, is already set. So this year's not going to change.
Yeah, I
no
meant
matter what you
24.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And for this particular term, it was set for an increase of $2,000 each year. So that would be $8,000 over the next 4-year term, which puts you at 65. But that's with inflation and everything else, you're still going to be behind.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's something. It can be set at one salary for 4 years. Whatever you do, it has to be spelled out in the legislation, and it can increase each year. Same thing for council, except yours is only 2 years. But the law director, the auditor, the mayor, they're 4-year terms, so that it has to be, you know, figured that way. But 23 is already set. You're not going to change anything,
Right.
you know, in that case.
Is it permissible to do the yearly spreads instead of always follow each year?
As long as the legislation states it for each year, it can change, but you can't decide midway through
Approve a motion.
that you're going to give
You're
somebody a
gonna give
raise.
somebody.
That's true for the treasurer too.
That was my understanding, you can't decide that.
You can't decide after the fact. And if you're in a situation, which happened in 2 4-year terms of mine, where the city was in financial problems, the elected officials can sign off and say, I'm not taking the raise this year, I will stay the same. So that is an option. You can refuse the raise if.
That person can refuse it, we can't refuse it to them.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And we have done
Okay.
that in the past.
Okay, then I'll entertain them or make a motion and declare it as an emergency to go on a $1,500 a year you want to do for the next 4 years for the auditor's pay.
So the 2024 salary is 1,500 more than the
Yes.
2023, and each year is
Very good.
1,500 increase?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Are you getting this, Brian, for the legislation?
Got it.
Still not much.
Sure, got it spelled out.
Now you'll have to decide it for the other elected officials that are running too.
Well, I thought he said if we did nothing, it stayed the same.
Yeah.
Once you start the legislation, it's all gonna be.
That'd be-
Well, we'll just put it, I mean, if you guys decide that the rest stays even, then just put that in it. The rest stays.
Okay, I'll say
The rest is
the rest of
frozen.
the elected officials stay the same.
So the auditor goes and, yeah, law director,
Will you second that, Mark?
mayor,
I second that.
Okay.
bingo.
So,
You got it?
yep.
Good job.
Just
So
get
you
something
all
for it.
approve?
He hasn't done yet.
What's that?
You haven't asked for a vote?
No. I haven't yet. I was making sure, I'm waiting on you. I was making sure you're all caught up. Okay, all right.
I'm good.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Did you want to speak, Chief?
Are we doing public participation now?
Yeah, we're into public participation.
I had,
I was worried about you guys.
Chad Schwimley, Fire Chief. Hey, mine was just wanted to point out that I was assuming that the, what we were talking about, manpower, was not what we were talking about. So I should have jumped up sooner about the wage increase. Due to the fire contract, there is I will be losing $1.20 in certification pay because it got rolled into their regular salary. So I was just going to ask if that could be addressed also with that.
Didn't we address that? Did everybody got that?
The chief will be
in my wage.
You in the Manpower Act will be losing $1.20 certification pay.
Correct.
That's what he's saying. So we did $1 plus 2%.
2%.
So you're losing 20 cents.
Yeah. You're not getting a raise at all. Actually getting a reduction.
Doesn't that happen to him too?
Actually getting a reduction. No, we didn't mess with their certifications.
Yeah, thanks. And then the other,
Where were you when we talked about
you guys were quick on it. I was asleep, I guess. I don't know. I've been sitting there too long. The other thing,
I'm thinking that manpower actually states that the police chief and the fire chief get the same raises
As
that their department or their union gets. I was thinking that that was in manpower. If
Well,
Kim was here, she'd know for sure because she's got everything
They changed the
memorized.
certification part, didn't they, where it's no longer certification pay?
But that would boost his bottom rate by the certification rate, $2 plus.
And that would solve his concern.
And that would solve the concern. If you're getting what your guys are getting, your raise would be the same.
yes.
Can we verify?
It would go in your,
Well, I was just gonna say.
Or when we have our special meeting, can we go ahead and ask that, as you have a chance to look into this, if you still need anything else done to it, we can suspend the rules and bring that up from the floor as long as it's put on the announcement?
Or we can bring up a special finance right before it. Either
It
way.
will be fixed so that you do not lose your certification pay. Yes, one of
The
those
other-
ways.
Okay, the other thing that I had is if you were in manpower, I was going to ask if you would add 3 positions to the firefighters, to the staffing level, if that's open at the same time. That way, if we were able to apply for the Safer
Safer
grant,
grant.
I've got room for actual
And then we
people
don't have to
come
go back
on.
and change it again?
Yes.
Yeah.
If I may, I think we got some additional changes that we'd like to make in the billet too. So instead of doing his separate, we want to do them all at once.
Well, but
And
we're
he's
getting
not-
ready to do them before February 1st. Can you have your?
Well, that won't affect what he
That doesn't
needs for the
affect
billet.
that.
First.
No, I'm saying we were trying to wrap it up into that, but you wouldn't be able to have yours ready by then, would you?
Ah,
Probably not.
I mean, my part of the billet thing can wait.
that's what I mean. I'd rather wait till another meeting.
Good
when
enough.
we would tackle the
good
billet.
enough. Good enough. Now, Chief? We'll get out of here.
Chief Neil Ossenheimer, Bucyrus Police Department. Just kind of want to give you guys a brief update on what's going on in the police department here. Currently, Bucyrus police officers and our dispatchers are working excessive amounts of overtime just to provide the bare minimum of coverage of 2 officers on the road and 1 person on the desk, whether it's a dispatcher or an officer. I will say they're extremely exhausted. They're walking around like zombies down there. I have serious safety concerns for our employees due to the excessive amount of fatigue and the overtime that they're working. I mean, sometimes it's 7 out of 10 shifts are working as a 12-hour shift instead of an 8. We're doing our best, but these working conditions simply cannot continue, and we need to make some changes in how we operate. If any of you guys have an idea, I'm all about it. There was nothing left to cut within the police department except our hours of coverage. What I mean by that is if we have to reduce our manpower anymore, we are not going to be able to cover 24 hours, and we can have, I don't know, purge hours or whatever you want to call it, where we don't have any cops on the street to respond to any calls. We'll come back in at 7 o'clock and start from scratch at the beginning of the day. I don't know any other way to put it other than that. As I've told you guys before, the simple fact of the situation is that the cost of law enforcement has gone up along with everything else, and this city has not adjusted to meet the demand for increased revenue that we need to pay for our safety forces. If we want our police officers to continue to work here, we need to pay them competitively and staff them appropriately, which is happening in Crawford County with Galleon and the other places that are out there. I would say the City Council showed that the fire department that they very much appreciate their service by accepting a large pay raise for the firefighters. I would remind you guys that the police department is going to negotiate this year for the 3rd year of our contract as well. Basically, we have the expectation that the City Council will show the favor to the police as they did to the fire, and that they will be in line with what you guys gave the fire department. By my math, that would be a minimum of a 9% raise with an additional $1 per hour wage adjustment. And that's just being in line with what the fire department just got. Like I said, I don't have to remind you guys, as I've said up here numerous times, that Bucyrus police officers and dispatchers are paid less than the surrounding agencies, including within Crawford County. You know, it's come down to the point where all of our officers that are under probably 40 years old are highly marketable to every other law enforcement agency in the state that has a vacancy. We're going to be unwilling to show our police employees that we appreciate them as much as we do the other branches that we have here, then in my opinion, they should actually seek other employment in a city where they're going to be more appreciated. The city of Gallion just gave its officers a 15% pay raise, and the sheriff's office gave its officers or its deputies a $2 pay raise in the middle of a contract cycle. And it sounds like those guys are counting on a high percentage raise when they go back to the negotiating table as well. And so the city of Bucyrus must be prepared to do the same if it's going to maintain its people here. If the city of Bucyrus is unwilling to properly fund and staff the police department, then the city deserves to lose the employees that it has, and they can deal with the increase in drugs and crime. Thank you.
Any other public participation? Sure. Why not?
Mike Castor, 130 Brentwood Street. Chief, wait a second. Most of you know me, my background before I retired was the sheriff's office. I was in charge of operations under Sheriff Schauber until he retired, and I followed after him and left. As chief of operations, scheduling and the manpower was part of mine. That included dispatch and so on. You just heard a very true statement, and unless you've had your head in the sand for the last 6 months, look at the news of what's going on with the law enforcement across the country. You cannot work or ask a city to go without law enforcement. You cannot say we're not going to have officers out there, say from midnight to 6 a.m., burglary time of the year, domestic time in the afternoon. You cannot, I suppose you can, I would not recommend it. You cannot go down to one officer. There isn't a reasonable officer out there that's going to work for a city. He says, yeah, go out and work by yourself. You're in a city of 10, 11,000. You know, your nearest backup, as soon as we make a phone call and get somebody dressed from home and get them out to you, we will. Sheriff's office, yeah, they'll respond. Drive yourself from Tyro to Bucyrus and see how soon you're going to get here to help him, or from Likens. I'm going to back the law enforcement. I know we're stretched on money, but you cannot run a city of this size with reduced manpower. They are bare minimums. He just gave you your worst case scenario. Actually, for a city this size, this congested, 2 men are actually too low. But these officers are doing it. 12 hours a day, yeah, occasionally you can do that. Forced overtime, I had to do it to the deputies out there. But you cannot do it continually. You got vacations, you got sick leave. We just came out of COVID. You have to have a relief place in there for these officers. Firefighters are no different. You have to figure out what's the minimum you can operate with safely, and that's the secret word. What can we do safely to make everybody protected? Not only the officers, but the public. You're going to tell a 92-year-old lady that's living by herself out in a house and somebody's outside banging on her windows, or she hears them trying to pry the window open, yeah, we'll be there. They're on an accident right now. We'll be there 30 to 45 minutes. It doesn't work. I'm going to make it short and sweet like that. You're hearing your worst case scenario at the worst time it could ever happen to you. You're out of money. You're not sure how you're going to pay all the bills and keep everything running. This is where you have to get the pen and paper out, because you have to figure out where's the priorities and where's the essentials. Police officers in a city like this, firefighters, top of the list. I mean, that's all there is to it. Having the streets cleared, 8-inch snowstorm, we're Buffalo, New York. The garbage, we aren't gonna pile our garbage till it gets 6 foot deep, and eventually we'll get to it. Unfortunately, you gotta start looking, where's the priorities, where's the safety at, and where are we gonna save the people? That's all I'm gonna leave it with. Like I said my last time, I have worked with most of you, I've talked to you as a group here and privately. You have common sense and logic to work with, and you guys do a good job of it. But now it's time to sit down to nitty gritty, and you gotta figure out how to do it and get through it. Unfortunately, and I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna tell the public, anybody that's listening to this city is between a rock and a hard spot. How are we gonna get out of it? We will, we always have. But it's gonna be tough knocks for the next several months. And eventually, hopefully things will turn around and we'll come back out of this. But it's gonna be tough for the next few months. And not only does the city officials who we're falling to, but we as a public have to learn to live with it too. And do what we can to help. But I'm gonna leave it at that. But you were in my old territory. I've heard this story umpteen times over the years. We went through tough times. We went through gas shortages. We went through everything else. Unfortunately, we're here again. The tree's getting bare and we're getting hungry. So how do we feed ourselves? I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Mr. Castro. So I'm assuming you're going to go out there and promote our 1/4% tax increase so that we can pay these guys. So there we got one vote. We've got one vote.
These are the essentials. You heard my words. Where are your priorities and essentials? So far, you've been doing real good at finding where you have to put some
Well,
money.
just so you and did Joyce leave? Joyce probably left. Well, the mayor knows. It's like 90% of the general fund, which is your income tax money, goes to safety forces. So, which is the fire and police. So, out of the rest of that, of course, this year we're not planning on opening the pool. There's probably trees that won't get cut down, and there's probably other things that. What's that?
No repairs to buildings.
No repairs to buildings. We cut all that money out. So, we're doing what we can do.
I understand
And
that.
I know the chief's frustrated. We're all frustrated. But I'm sure every one of us supports the safety forces. I know we pushed hard to get the safety forces levy, which is, which all that money goes to safety forces.
I
So.
think my speech, not only for you guys, but for the choir, for the public, so we know
Well.
where we're at. They have to look at what we have helping us now and what we can lose. And we as a public have to start figuring out, we can't let it go to that level and to do what we have to.
Well, if we don't want it to, then we're going to have to support this 1/4% levy that will be on the May ballot, okay? So that's how the people can help. Anything else? If not, I will adjourn at 8:26.